Saturday, cross my heart. I want you to be my baby. Sunday, cross my heart. I want you to be my lady. Do da, do da, da, do da, do da, da, shoo ba, 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 shoo ba, ba, shoo ba, ba, ba. Come on, Rumble. Work for it, brother. I'll get you in a second. Boom, 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 boom. Welcome to the Jaybefaunt channel. I am your host, Jaybefaunt. So good to see all of you here on this beautiful Saturday evening. Yes, it is Saturday, and I am live right here at 6 p.m. in front of your face. The Jaybefaunt channel is available on all major podcast platforms, so go ahead and subscribe there. Also part of the Revolutionary Blackout Network, so you can find me there on Sundays and Thursdays. If you have not already, go ahead and hit the like button. That pushes me out into the algorithm, and also it pushes me out to people that want to hear more news like this. So good to see all of you here. And if you guys have not, you guys can also go to my Substack at jaybefaunt.substack.com. That gives you email notifications whenever I go live, upload clips, or write any articles. So it's good to see all of you here today. Now, just to let you guys know, whenever I do have a guest, I like to get to the guest immediately, and I'll say a blanket hello to everybody that's watching in the comments right now. However, what are we going to be talking about today? Well, we have a couple of stories that we're going to be getting into. Later in the show today, we're going to be getting to this. Are housekeepers winning? This is going to be a very interesting subject. I cannot wait to get into. This is out of Florida. I saw this story and I was like, what? So you guys are going to be interested in hearing that story. Definitely. Our story that I'll be talking with Marcus is going to be 175,000 pardoned. This is going to be a very deep story that I think that it's a positive story. I have my critiques, but it is overall a positive story that I would like to get into. But for right now, we're going to be talking to Marcus Cage. He is a host and commentator that will be joining me right now. Hello to Marcus Cage from the Political Matrix. Marcus, good to have you back on.
Man, I'm so glad to be here. I appreciate it. And shout out to everybody out there. Like JB said, make sure y'all hit the like, get this man into the algorithm, pump him up. Soul, shout out to you. Miguel, shout out to you, definitely. And everybody else, glad to see y'all here. Make sure y'all share it. Make sure y'all share it.
Thank you so much. So, Marcus, there's been a lot that has happened since the last time you were on. A lot that has happened, in regards to different people that have jumped into the race. You have people like Dr. Cornel West that have jumped into the race. That was a bit of a kerfuffle that, dare I say, he was in the Movement for People's Party, then he jumped out of the Movement for People's Party and then jumped into the Green Party, then was in the Green Party for a little bit, then jumped out of the Green Party and then went into some other party that I have no idea. I can't remember the name of, but, and then you had that. Then Dr. Joe Stein jumped in. RFK Jr. done made a fool of himself. So... how are things been going on with you?
It's been a lot, man. And I got to make sure that I got to bring up that y'all called out Cornel and y'all actually sat down with him. And he said, if I go astray, I start running afoul, I want y'all to hold my feet to the fire. I watched that when he was sitting on RBN and he said that to the face of the whole team. He said that to JB. He said that to the name we will not mention. He said that to Sabi. He said that to Rome. I heard it. I heard him say it to all. And then when y'all called him on his BS, Then he had the nerve to get a little attitude. And then I'm looking at Jill Stein and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I watch Jose Vega up there on the ground, guerrilla style, get his signatures to get himself on the ballot, do what he needs to do. And I'm watching the Green Party just flail around and been around since before I was born and still struggling to get their act together. And then you got RFK. I don't even know where to start with him. He's just a hot mess.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, the Green Party is, I think they're well over 40 states so far, or they got at least over half the states that need it. They have enough to get 270 electoral college votes. I'll say that for sure. So as far as they're moving along, it's going pretty well. I think Dr. Cornel West got, could be wrong on this, I think about 6 or 7 states so far. So he's still advancing along. I would love to have a conversation with him. I have reached out, but I haven't gotten a word back. So
the thing is, they have gotten, I think it's 44 states or more. But the problem, my issue with them is they have not done the infrastructure to build up local chapters that have enough back and forth relationship to the national level to be able to organize more pushes as far as getting their commercials all over the place, getting more speaking engagements and things like that. The things which actually get you in front of more voters and get your name out there. Because a big part of getting elected is name ID. If you don't have name ID with the normies, you're going nowhere.
Yeah. But I also need to say that part of that is also, and it's not, when it comes to our channels, we're on the relatively smaller side. But the larger channels who actually could be pushing her name out there more, they're not necessarily doing it. And if they are, they're doing it once in a while. Like they'll have on RK Jr. before they'll have on Jill Stein. And I'm like, what the hell? RK Jr. is just a Democrat with an I next to his name. I'm just like, why are you guys having him on more constantly? So
well, because he's on that one particular topic that we won't go into, that a lot of people who are in this independent media, whether that is on the left or the right, they're like a dog on a bone with that one topic. And so a lot of people, because it galvanizes people, they will follow him for that one issue. And y'all know what issue that is. But
no, we can say it. Israel and Palestine. Yeah, of course. The thing is, like, he's not just horrible on that issue, though, because I've actually went after him against his flip-flopping, wanting to end qualified immunity, because he literally said that he would end qualified immunity. He said that to a black journalist, and then when a white journalist pressed him on it, he flipped on it and said, "Oh, no, that's not right. I don't want to end qualified immunity." Which one is it, Robert? Yeah. That's my question, because the thing is, it's like, you don't want to end qualified immunity. You don't want to hold police accountable for the actions that they're doing against largely to our community. That doesn't make sense to me, because you sat there in a bar, and then on top of it, you sat there in a barbershop talking about, well, I am for reparations, but I'm not for past reparations. I'm like, no. See, here's what we're not going to do, RK Jr., is we're not going to dictate to the black community about how the reparations should be given to us. That's up to us. That's not up to you. But at the same time, you're saying, well, I don't think. No. It's not about what you think, right?
Yeah.
That's my thing. It's like, dude, just say, yeah, I agree, we should cash a check. Then do it. That's it.
I would have more respect if he took the Bernie route of, no, I don't support that, and just, nix it. Don't try to get up there and gaslight us, because that's what pissed me off. Because he tried to BS us like, oh, well, I would do this and I'm for this and my uncle, and don't do all the tap dancing and BS, and we can see through it all. Either you're for it or you're against it. Move on to the next subject.
Exactly. And that's one of my biggest issues. I do not like somebody who continuously tap dances. And it's like, don't poop on a plate, put sprinkles on it, and call it chocolate ice cream, right? Because we see through what exactly it is. And so that's one of my biggest issues with RFK Jr. And then on top of that, he's not for a universal healthcare, single payer healthcare, despite some of his activism that he's done through his work as a lawyer. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's like you're going after Big Pharma for what they did regarding the jab. I have to be careful what I say, but you have to, you went after them on that, and yet you don't want to give universal health care, especially to the people who have been negatively affected by side effects from the jab. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so you don't want to help those people who have negative side effects so that they won't have to come directly out of pocket now? Like, where's the compassion, Robert? That's my biggest question.
And then while you're at it, his sole hardcore support of the nation of Israel, but the money we're funding them is supporting their healthcare, their free healthcare system. So I'm trying to understand, you support this nation and all the money we send to them to help prop up their system while denying it for American citizens. And I mean, I don't like the whole right-wing framing of the America first, but can America be first on anything?
You know what? When it comes to essential things like healthcare, housing, education, I am not opposed to America first. But the thing is that I think some people confuse America first with America only. You know what I mean? Because my thing is like, yeah, America first, okay, but you also need to take care of your neighbors too, right? Especially the ones that you screwed over, right? Because you screwed over Guatemala, you screwed over Chile, you screwed over Puerto Rico, you screwed over Hawaii, you screwed over Mexico, you screwed over El Salvador, Nicaragua, Cuba, you screwed over a lot of them. So therefore, you also need to cover over and repair things with them too. But my thing is like, it's not just America only. It's, we got to take care of our people, clean your house first. But then the people who you messed over, you got a recompense for that too. And so that's one of my biggest issues. It's like, I think a lot of people who consider themselves to be on the right, they say they're America first when they're really America only. And I'm like, nah, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can afford to walk and chew gum at the same time. But some of them, they're under the impression that we can't. So
yeah. Oh no, you was cooking. You was cooking right there. And Soul is correct too. DR, and we can go on. The list is endless. And a lot of people say clean your own house, but also if you make a mess in somebody else's house, you need to clean that up too.
Yeah,
I can't go to JB's house and start knocking over stuff and leaving cups everywhere, and that's just okay. I mean, so we got to be responsible as a nation for everything that we do. We can't just be like, well, when I get back home, make sure mine is straight. If you mess up somebody else's stuff or you use somebody else's stuff or like this, and this is my crazy, this is kind of my issue with a lot of the people on the right. You guys are perfectly fine and support our government going into all of these countries and demolishing them, cooing their governments, taking resources. And then when we have damaged their country to a point or made their country so unsafe, they decide to start coming towards America. Then you're like, no, don't come in here. We don't want you here. Well, where are they supposed to go? You jacked up their spot. Why come they can't come to your house?
Now, who was cooking? You were cooking. you turned that burner on. You went. And then just start frying.
Hey, you threw the alley-oop.
But I mean, that's the point, right? Because the thing is like, you cannot let chickens come home to roost. So if you're going to mess up somebody else's country, it's going to backfire on you, right? I think that's the primary point. It's just like, if y'all didn't want to pay reparations, y'all shouldn't have stolen a whole bunch of people from West Africa and brought them here.
Exactly. You can't
go, oh my God, that's going to bankrupt the country. Then y'all should have gave us the 40 acres and a mule back in 1865 when y'all promised it from William T. Sherman.
Yeah.
Y'all wouldn't be as much debt as you are right now. You guys been racking up the debt for hundreds of years now.
And they sat there and they had multiple plans on things to do. And you chose none of them.
Yeah.
You could have done the 40 acres of the mill. You could have said, okay, well, we're going to give you guys this area over here and you can have this part of the country. In fact, even after you reneged on that and didn't do what you're supposed to do, and we said, okay, cool, we're not going to get what we were promised, what we're owed. We're going to go build up our own towns. Then you went after that and destroyed those towns. So therefore, come on.
Bro, they played in our faces. What did they do after World War II? They did what was called the Marshall Plan, and they built up Europe. They built up Europe, and then we're like, and we're sitting here going, where's ours?
Yeah.
Us and the indigenous Americans are like, you decided to go and build up the rest of Europe after a war, but you ain't do nothing for us.
Yeah.
Even the Chinese, after they did the Chinese Exclusion Act, after they helped build the railroads, they didn't do nothing for them either.
Nope.
So,
and then you sit there and all that money, which you did, what you extracted from other people, you use that to go wreak havoc on a whole bunch of other people around the world. And then you do all of this, you put all of this negativity into the world, and then you have the nerve to point your finger at them when somebody steals a candy bar.
Don't lay a finger on my Butterfinger.
I mean, that's the duplicity and the hypocrisy that you see constantly. I mean, it reminds me of some other stuff that's been going on this weekend, which I'm gonna talk about later. And of course, if you're free, I know you normally hit the hay a little bit earlier. So, yeah. But you always welcome. If you still up, I'll toss you the link. You can come swing through the political matrix tonight because I'm gonna be. I got a lot on my chest that I need to get off.
Okay, thank you very much for that invite. I'll try to keep that in mind. Now, let's get into the first segment. That was a really nice conversation that we had right there because I wanted to make sure we got to get the blood flowing. You know what I'm saying on this one. Yeah. So what are we talking about? 175,000 pardon. What is this about? So Governor Wes Moore of Maryland decided to pardon 175,000 people for prior marijuana convictions. Now, in this discussion, I'm not going to be using that word as often because we're on the tube. But just to really hit home on the point, that's a lot of people who are convicted for plant.
Yep.
So when you first saw this story, what was your initial thoughts to this? Was it a positive view? Was it kind of skeptical? What was it?
First, and anytime I see something like this, it always starts off with skepticism. I always start off because I'm a skeptic by nature. I gotta look for it. I gotta vet it. I gotta prove it, and then I can start rocking with it if I can see things that I can build on. And then also I went from my knowledge, which I know of this governor in particular, and the state of Maryland just in general, and he has a very, very mixed. He's a very mixed bag of nuts. Excuse the phrase. There's some good in there. There's plenty of bad in there. There's some. I don't know what to make of this with him. So I was very, very like on my guard to it. Initially, my initial instinct years ago would have been, oh yeah, that's definitely good, but I was like, let me see, because there got to be something else going on that I don't know about.
Yeah.
And also I think of what else could you have done to add on to that, because I believe if people have been unjustly tried and unjustly convicted, I believe in restitution also for what has been taken away from those people. So you don't just open the doors and say, hey, walk out and hey, all's forgiven.
Okay. All right. So let's get into the story. Yeah, I knew it was a good idea to have you on for this story.
Mm-hmm.
All right. See, this is what happens when you do nuance. See, Marcus is good at nuance. So let's get into this story. So this says tens of thousands of Marylanders received pardons for marijuana convictions. So if you see Governor Westmore right there after he just signed the pardons, you see a whole bunch of melanated people behind them clapping. All right. So it says Maryland Governor Westmore ordered more than 175,000 pardons for marijuana convictions on Monday, saying the most sweeping state-level pardon in any state will help reverse harms of the past caused by the war on drugs. During a news conference, Moore said that the executive order will affect tens of thousands of Marylanders convicted of misdemeanors. Some may have had more than one conviction pardon through the process. Quote, we are taking action that are intentional, that are sweeping and unapologetic. And this is the largest such action in our nation's history, end quote. Through the pardons will not result in anyone being released from incarceration, and nor will they result in having any past convictions automatically expunged from a person's background check. Advocates praise the move as a way of removing barriers to housing, employment, or educational opportunities based on convictions for conduct that is no longer illegal. I see something wrong in this. Marcus, please let me know what you see. Do you see something wrong too?
I see something majorly wrong in this story.
Please. How do
you pardon somebody but don't release them? That doesn't make any sense.
Keep going.
How do you pardon somebody? Because normally you pardon somebody who is being incarcerated. If a person has been released, that means that they've already did their time and they've already fulfilled a full sentence.
Yeah.
Or released on some form of parole or probation or whatever. So basically what you're doing is you're like blanketly like saying, okay, that time where you were incarcerated or whatever, it just didn't happen and everything is fine now. What does that do for those people?
Bro, this is like hitting somebody with your car. Hitting somebody else's car with your car. And then you write a note saying, sorry. And then you give them that sorry. And then you just go on your merry little way. Wait, aren't you supposed to exchange insurance information so that that person can actually be made whole again because of what you did to them?
Wow, that is whoa, and they really propped this up like he really did something.
Yeah, he thought he was cooking. And he barely even got the groceries.
This dude just cut out coupons and put them in his pocket. That's about it. I mean, he didn't even get to the grocery store. He's just walking around with the coupons talking about, hey, we got food. I mean, this is ridiculous. Like, so what about people who, rest their souls, who have passed away since then, who might be on that list? What did that do for them? Not a damn thing. What about people who still are struggling to get work? Because even if you do expunge the record, like I saw somebody put, if you expunge the record and you've had a certain amount of time of inactivity in the workforce, that counts against you also, because you have to explain, where were you during this time period? Well, I was incarcerated, but now it's no longer a crime because I've been pardoned from that. You think that that's going to work out? Also, what about the people who it happened to them when they were 17, 18, tried as an adult or something like that, or in the process of college, and that discontinued their education, now stunting their possible amount that they can make through a career path? I mean, man, the games that these DNC, and I knew I should have knew something was up with this dude because of how much money he has put towards the police and trying to put the for those who don't know, in Maryland, he has also took the Fraternal Order Police and he's putting them on the board of the qualified immunity and going after any kind of accountability on police interactions and police brutality. So the board that's supposed to investigate them, like internal affairs on the state level, he's given them a seat at the table to help review the process. Oh yeah, he's a piece of work. He's a piece of work.
I want to cuss so bad right now. I want to cuss, but I'm trying to make this into a family show. Let me tell you. Let's get back into this article.
Mm-hmm.
Wes, you grimy. Ooh, boy. Okay.
Oh, don't forget their version of Cop City too that he's funding.
Oh, of course. All right. It says, though the pardons will not result in anyone being released. That to me right there is like, bruh, what the point of pardoning somebody if they're not going to be released? Now, I get if they have other convictions, right? But still, right? It should at least shorten their sentences. And then it says, nor will they have having any past convictions automatically expunged from a person's background check. Why not? I'm sorry. Ooh. Why not? Why not expunge it?
No, he's not going to expunge it. So that means that when they look it up, it's still on there. So that pardon is nothing but complete lip service. I mean, if you at least expunge it, maybe for some of those people who, okay, you did a couple of months and it did not infect your employment, you can kind of get by if it was expunged. But now you basically make it to a point where it really does nothing. It is all, you know what this is for. I bet you if we look it up, he's running for re-election.
How old is Westmore?
He's not that old. No, he's not that old.
Early 40s.
Yeah, he's not that old at all.
Hang on. He's 45. Okay. Westmore got 5 years on me. All right. Bet. So, presidential aspirations.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Presidential aspirations. 45 years old? Oh, yeah. He got time. He got time. He's at least trying to do 2 terms as governor, right? And so he wants this on his record saying, well, I also pardoned 175,000 people. But what did it actually do? So then when he gets to, start running for president in 2028 or in 2032, then he can go, I did all this. And then people go, oh, yay. When in reality, did he actually do anything for the people of that state that was substantive, that was concrete, that was tangible? Bruh.
What he's doing is he's learning from what Kamala's mistakes, and he's pulling a Cory Booker. And for those who don't know what I mean by that, pulling a Cory Booker went and lived in the housing projects and pretended as if I'm with you. I feel what you feel, and did nothing to improve those people's life.
Oh my God.
But it's a good photo op.
Yeah. Plus they both bald. Anyway.
Oh yeah. And did you know he signed it with the pen from that social justice group to add on to because they have like this orange pen, and he's like, oh, I'm signing it with this pen. So it helps to finalize the journey that they've been on to get this justice.
Oh Lord. Let's continue in this article. Let me see here. It says Heather Warnken, executive director for the University of Baltimore School of Law Center for Criminal Justice Reform, described the pardon as a win for thousands of Marylanders getting a fresh start to pursue education, employment, and other forms of economic opportunity without the stain of criminal conviction. Let me ask you this. How is that a win for thousands when they don't get it expunged?
I mean, you can have felonies and still go to college, so I don't get how that even affects your education at all.
Okay, so that part's debunked. Employment, it's not expunged.
That definitely going to help you with your employment.
Yeah. And what is other forms of economic opportunity? What is that? What does that mean?
That's called, he has some lawyers in his staff who know how to put out vague talking points that sound like you're adding something to it. That's Kamala level word salad.
All I need is the cackling, and they're pretty much their transition is complete. It says recreational cannabis was legalized in Maryland in 2023 after voters approved a constitutional amendment in 2022 with 67% of the vote. Maryland decriminalized possession of personal use amounts of cannabis on January 1st, 2023. Now 24 states and the District of Columbia have legalized recreational cannabis. Moore said the legalization does not turn back the clock on decades of harm that was caused by this war on drugs. He continued, it doesn't erase the fact that Black Marylanders were 3 times more likely to be arrested for cannabis than white Marylanders before legalization. It doesn't erase the fact that having a conviction on your record means a harder time with everything from housing to employment to education. Why did you not expunge it then? What?
I don't get that part. That's the insult to injury. You could have expunged it. You could have made things better, but you just said, no, I'm not going to help them. I'm not going to expunge it. I have the ability to help you, but I'm not. It's like, JB, I know you were falling over and, you're in the pool now. You're kicking and swinging because, you're struggling there. And I could reach my hand out, but I need both hands to drink my coffee.
What was it in the book of James? Do not say to someone, who is hungry and naked.
Yeah.
Do not go to them and say, oh, be warm and well fed. If you have the means to actually help them, essentially, I'm paraphrasing, to go ahead and do it. Baltimore is actually a Christian. He's not doing a very Christian thing right
now. And then it goes on paraphrasing, don't say, oh, be full when you have the means to feed them.
Like, here's my issue. It's like, well, I guess somebody in power should do something about that expunging, shouldn't you? Dude, you're the governor. You're the one you're the literal executive of the state of Maryland. And you can't put in a program, an executive order. Oh yeah, we're also going to expunge anybody that has a marijuana conviction in the state.
And on top of him not expunging it, Do you know that it keeps them on the rolls? Because there's a little something else that he's working on. It's an interstate cooperation thing where other law enforcement can be able to check people who are within the system. And so therefore, by not expunging it, you're still in the system for if you travel into another state that that's still going to be on there. So let's say, for instance, you're in Georgia, which it is definitely not legal in Georgia. They'll know that, wait a minute, this person had a conviction for marijuana possession. More than likely, they might have marijuana in their car. I smell marijuana. Get out the car. Now, I don't know if somebody like him has taken it to that level of, okay, this plus this plus this can equal this. But by his actions, that's the kind of thing he opens somebody up to.
Jeez Louise, man, I'm telling you. All right. Says Shiloh Jordan, who lost his job on his second day of work after a minor cannabis conviction appeared in a background check by his employer, attended the news conference. Moore noted that even though Jordan went back to college and now works for the Center of Urban Families in Baltimore, he still had the cannabis conviction on his record. And Moore said, well, today that ends. Jordan said that he was thankful that his experience could be used as testimony and offered a lot of change for the people of Maryland. He says it means a lot because I know a lot of people have been convicted for petty cannabis charges, and it really affected their whole way of life and their whole way of thinking. Maryland Attorney General Anthony Brown, who attended the news conference, said this action was long overdue. As a nation, we have taken far too long to correct the injustices of the system that is supposed to be just for all. The Attorney General also noted that the magnitude of the governor's actions and said it was about equity that really, to me, is really just a paper tiger. It doesn't really have any tangible actions, but I digress. He said it's about racial justice while the order applies to all who meet its criteria, and the impact is a triumphant victory for African Americans and other Marylanders of color who were disproportionately arrested, convicted, and sentenced for actions yesterday that are lawful today. It says more than 150,000 misdemeanor convictions for simple possession of cannabis will be affected by the order, which also will cover more than 18,000 misdemeanor convictions for use of or possession with the intent to use drug paraphernalia, according to a summary by the governor's office. You know, one of the things that I also have a problem with, they don't do felonies.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got a felony marijuana conviction, you're not getting anything.
Yep. These are people who only basically had what personal use levels. So if you're somebody who was considered intent to distribute, and depending on the state, intent to distribute could be 2 ounces, which for those who smoke know that 2 ounces isn't a whole lot. But that can be enough to tip it into a felony, depending on which county and precinct or which state you're in. And I'm still trying. You read one thing in there, which I just got to kind of get some clarification on. So this is not expunged, right, JB?
No.
So not expunged. So what is it just going to show? You were pardoned for your marijuana conviction? How does that help you?
How does it help you?
I'm trying to understand that, because if an employer sees that, that's still not going to be good.
Yeah, because it's like, yeah, you were forgiven by the state, but what does that have to do with me as an employer? Because
it's like in the military, if you got discharged and you don't have, if you have other than honorable, general, neither one of those are good. Mm-hmm. You might as well have a dishonorable. I mean, they look at it the same.
Yeah. It says now that Moore has ordered the pardons, the Maryland judiciary will ensure each individual electronic docket is updated with an entry indicating the conviction has been pardoned by the governor. A process should take about 2 weeks, the governor's office said. So it's basically going to say, well, yeah, I mean, you were convicted for a misdemeanor for a marijuana possession charge. And that conviction is still there, but it's all good. The governor said you've been pardoned. And here's my question. Here's my problem. If it's no longer illegal, a pardon means that you did something wrong, but you were forgiven. Mm-hmm. When in reality, now that we know that there's nothing wrong with it, why shouldn't we go further and say it should at the very least be expunged so that nobody can see that is on your record? Because you can't get, the times in your life where you tried to advance yourself further and somebody saw that on your record. You can't get that time and those resources back. So at the very least, you should get it expunged.
Well, this still leaves you open to discrimination, because what about a more conservative minded person who they don't care what the law says? They still look at it as that's the devil's lettuce. They still look at it as, obviously, this tells me a lot about their character, that they would actually engage in marijuana or weed or grass or whatever name you want to call it. That, this shows that this is not the type of person that I want in my business. And so for those people who think like that, it allows them to still have a prejudice against you that they can use the biasness. And notice I didn't put it on racial lines, because there are people of all races who are against marijuana. So anybody who's older, it's not even just older people, but a lot of older people had that because of their generation, how they grew up looking at it. Yeah. It still allows them to have that biasness and hold that against you in employment.
Yeah. Now let's see what Governor Westmore said, because of course, he has his take. Oh, geez, do I really want to listen to this? All right, let's go.
We voted as a state that we would actually have a recreational cannabis market by over 70%, that the state voted for this. And over the process of the past year and a half, we have rolled out what many call the most, not just equitable, but also the fairest recreational cannabis rollout in this country, where we have 174 new social equity licenses, new owners and new distributors for this new cannabis market. But I also know this: you cannot celebrate the benefits of legalization if you do not deal with the consequences of criminalization. It's not fair, and it doesn't work. That we have now a multi-billion-dollar burgeoning industry around the country, and we have people who still cannot get student loans because of cannabis convictions. That we have people who still cannot get mortgages because of a misdemeanor cannabis conviction. This is what.
What are your thoughts on what you just said?
But they're still going to fall. They're still going to fall under that same kind of scrutiny, because it's still there. If you don't expunge it, it did nothing. You literally did nothing.
Yeah.
But you're it's, oh my gosh, how they make it seem like they're actually doing some kind of fight. Like, I'm fighting for you. It's so disgusting how they cosplay being a hero for the people, while at the same time screwing over the people. I mean, it goes back to what Malcolm was saying, about the red and the blue team. One's a wolf, one's a fox.
Yeah. This also reminds me of what Malcolm said about what is progress. Progress is sticking the knife in 6 inches and then pulling it back out 2 inches and saying that's progress.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how is that progress? And, I want to ask you this. What do you say to the liberals, to the Democrats who say, well, you're being so negative. This is, it may be a small win, but it's still a win, right? We can get further next time. What would you say to people who push back in that way?
Well, for somebody, especially on this particular topic, that would say that to me, I would say, but it's legalized in the state. There is no other opportunity to fix this for the people who are wronged under this. It's too late to do anything or anybody else because now they won't get arrested for this at all. So other people are not going to be held to this same unfair account. And also this mindset of, well, I mean, we can get more last time. You basically did this through like a form of an executive order, meaning you could have did it however you wanted to do it. It wasn't a bill that came to your desk that had to go through committee and was, okay, well, this is going to be in, that's going to be in there, or it's all or nothing. This is something you had the ability to craft however you wanted to craft it. And this is what you chose to do. I mean, this is perfectly emblematic of almost what Obama did with the housing crash. He had the ability to put the money in the people's hands and let them take care of their housing issues instead of putting it in the bank's hands. And Obama chose to give the money to the banks. What I would say to liberals like that is, these are the instances right here where you can tell where your real intentions are, because you had the ability all on your own to make this situation way better. Instead, everywhere where you should go right, you're turning left. Everywhere where you should go up, you're going down. So I would just leave it at that. You had the opportunity. You can't blame this on Republicans. You can't blame this on nobody else. You could have, I mean, helped people in so much of ways by just doing one little thing, expunging it. But you just chose not to do it. And there's not even a question from these liberals to why you're not doing it.
Yep. And just to add to your point, you literally have one of the blackest cities in your state, Baltimore, that you could have helped so many people in Baltimore. And yet you said the I love you without the actual meaning behind it. It's on its face. It's just horrible.
JB, I don't know. Did you watch The Wire?
No, I never got to watch it.
He is reminding me perfectly of, what was it? Mayor Carcetti. I believe that's the name. I don't know if y'all remember it out there. He's showing the backroom dealing, and okay, well, we can do this one little thing, but at the same time, we want to make sure that for these other constituents that we still look like we're tough. And this is what the Clintons call it, triangulating. We're gonna make it seem like we're doing one thing, but at the other time we're making both people happy while really doing nothing. Yeah, the second governor. Well, he started off being mayor, and then he was towards the end. He was, I think, he did become governor at the end. But this is the kind of stuff that he was doing.
Okay, yeah, definitely. So, one of my things that I wanted to bring up was, did he go far enough? No. But at the same time, I think that the best way, and we already pretty much laid out what was the best way for him to move forward. It was he can just do another executive order and expunge it. But while I'm talking about this, I want to make sure that you guys know as well about how damaging these marijuana convictions are. So this is from the ACLU. It talks about, it was a report on the war on marijuana in black and white. This is actually out of 2013. So this is 11 years ago. Staggering racial bias. Marijuana use is roughly equal among blacks and whites, yet blacks are 3.73 times as likely to be arrested for marijuana possession. So with that being said, out of the ACLU, it would behoove somebody like Westmore to expunge those convictions, because then that would affect disproportionately a lot of black people. Now, while we're talking about what Maryland did in the legalization route, I think it's important that, I'm in Florida. Did you know that we actually have on the docket for this November our own legalization through ballot initiatives in Florida?
Mm-hmm.
So it says Florida Amendment 3, Marijuana Legalization Initiative. It says Florida Amendment 3, the Marijuana Legalization Initiative is on the ballot in Florida as an initiated constitutional amendment for November 5th. It says a yes vote supports legalizing marijuana for adults 21 years old and older and allowing individuals to possess up to 3 ounces. A no vote opposes legalizing marijuana for adults use in Florida. Overview. It says the initiative would legalize recreational marijuana for adults 21 years old and older. Individuals will be allowed to possess up to 3 ounces, about 85 grams, with up to 5 grams in the form of concentrate. So concentrate would be something that you could probably put in a
like a vape.
In a vape, yeah. It says existing medical marijuana treatment centers will be authorized under the initiative to sell marijuana to adults for personal use. The Florida state legislature could provide by state law for the licensure of entities other than existing medical marijuana treatment centers to cultivate and sell marijuana products. Medical marijuana was adopted by Florida voters in 2016 by a vote of 71% to 29%. So just so that everybody, has that, I'm going to put that in that link in the chat. But even if you don't want to vote for anybody who is a politician, you still have a ballot initiative that will directly affect you in the state of Florida.
Well, this is kind of reminiscent to me of when it was a ballot initiative that ex-cons, people who had done their time, that they would be able to have their voting rights back because you serve your time, you should be able to get all of your freedoms back. And DeSantis sent around his goons to go and round people up for voting, even though they were legally able to vote after getting their rights back. And I was like, you didn't pay a fine over here, and just making up reasons to try to still keep these people off the voting rolls. And so as long as Florida is slanted, red right now, I wonder, even if you get that in, how much court fighting that you're going to have to do with the Florida Supreme Court to actually force him to have to do it.
I don't know, but I think it's worth still going after.
Definitely.
But, and let me talk to the millennials. I'm sorry, the Gen Z right quick. Those of you who are Gen Z, including some members of my family, wouldn't it be beneficial to be able to get your gas from your plug at a storefront legally so that 12 can't come and harass you for having it? I would think that's actually, it gives that big old 200-pound monkey / pig off your back. So if I were you, if you want to be able to get your gas legally, then you might want to register to vote so that you can at least vote on this, even if you don't want to vote for a politician. I'm just saying.
Exactly. If I can add to that, wouldn't you like to be able to get your gas and be able to get multiple different octanes? I mean, be able to choose from all different qualities of octanes. You get your 87, you get your 89. You might want to get it ethanol style. You can do all kind of things. You can get it in all kind of different forms and be able to do it in a nice, clean environment. Also, not have to deal with the awkward conversations and the meeting up in weird places and cars over here on the side of the road to get your gas. You can actually meet in a reputable place. Mm-hmm. In fact, some of these places you can do delivery.
Yeah. Now, let me share this with you too, because those of you, we're still talking to you Gen Zs. Mm-hmm. It says this is the people who are supporting the campaign. One of the things it says there's no evidence that the legalization of the substance for medical recreational use at state level as 37 states already have done, has boosted underage consumption for the regulated marketplace. The continued black market sale of the substance perpetuates a culture of criminality. If adult use substance is legalized, Florida users will have the accountability, transparency, and regulations in place to ensure products are not laced with or contain potentially deadly chemicals. Meaning, to Gen Z, your gas will be pure. Meaning it's not going to be anything that's messed up.
Yeah, when you be happier to be able to know what you go for is exactly what you go for, and it's the same consistency every time. They not watering it down. There's no spraying nothing on it, and you hoping, oh, let me double check this to make sure I'm not getting hustled. You're able to, in fact, you're able to be able to know the content and be able to say, oh yeah, I'm doing this grade. This is exactly what I want. And also, as the market burgeons more and more, you're able to have competition. Don't you free market capitalists love competition? Don't y'all? Wouldn't you be able to get that?
I mean, and then, how many thousands and thousands of dollars in taxes millions of dollars in taxes that these states have been able to procure through the legalization. Like, I mean, this has literally helped them to fund education, to fund infrastructure. I mean, come on now.
Because, I mean, I'm in a state where it has been for a while, and the people, I mean, you'd be surprised the people who use, and I know, like, they do these caricatures of, oh, it's this hood black or brown person who's the one doing that. No, you walk into these places and you see people of all different walks of life, all different ages, and various different reasons. Some people, hey, I'm just trying to get my party on. Some people like, yo, I got PTSD. I use this. It helps me cool out. You got some people's like, yo, I got pain in my knees, my shoulders, my back, and this helps ease things off so I don't have to deal with narcotics. And so there's various different reasons. I just think it makes perfect sense to let adults do what adults need to do and get out of their business instead of telling them what to do.
I'm going to share with you a user here in Florida that doesn't look like you or I. Here we go. Boom. Attorney John Morgan.
Oh, shoot. Morgan and Morgan.
Yes. He literally confessed on camera to being a user here in Florida.
I would not have guessed that. Not
yes.
him.
He sounds just like this. He's an attorney. He has his offices all over the country. And yes, he uses. And here's the thing. He doesn't look like us. He doesn't look like you and me. Right? And so when it comes to different people.
And don't forget this part. Not only does he look different, this man is in a different socioeconomic category than we are, on another level. Dude, he has branches out here in LA.
Yeah.
I mean, now granted, my Pandora is still attached to Florida, so I still get my Florida commercials. I be craving some Publix cupcakes every now and then. But anyway, my point is, this ain't no like little small business owner. This is a big dog.
Yeah.
This is a multi-millionaire here.
Yes.
Who has hundreds of practices all over the country.
Yeah. John Morgan. And on top of it, he's been fighting for recreational legalization in Florida for years. He has been pushing for legalization. So, he's championing this. So, you got him. His wife, Ultima Morgan, is also a lawyer. I think his 3 sons are also lawyers. His brother is a lawyer, all with their same law firm. Like, they got millions of dollars. And yet he gets the gas too. He got a plug too.
And think about it. When he moved back from Tennessee, because he spent a stint living in Tennessee before he moved back to Florida, y'all think that he wasn't getting gassed up while he was in Florida?
Please.
Y'all think he wasn't having somebody come out to the mansion and drop him off something? Come on now. And you know how many, and I guarantee you, there's a whole lot of other politicians down there in Florida who, oh, well, I'm not going to vote to approve it, but I have no problem with you dropping this bag off for me.
Tim Price, who is part of the Orlando chapter of RBN, says, everyone I know has seen that guy smash downtown. Oh, gosh. Tim, you are the gift that keeps on giving. So yeah, that's what's going on as far as Westmore. But dare I say, you know, Maryland could have definitely did better. So
they definitely could have. But if you look at this guy, you could tell this guy was groomed for this from the moment like he was getting out of the Army. I mean,
you remember when he was on Oprah?
Yeah, he was part of Oprah's network doing that little cheesy TV show.
Oh, he did a TV show? I remember him getting I remember when he got I remember when he got an interview with Oprah when he was talking about the other Westmore, when he talked about a guy who
he had a show on Oprah's network.
Why is it every single time? I'm starting to do my motions like Eddie Murphy. Why is it every single time that somebody that we look at that is on the surface, they seem like they're good, but then once you start to get into, you know, their political stances, then they're kind of crap. Why do they always have a connection to Oprah? It's like Oprah's always behind it.
I mean, I could go into it, but if y'all don't know what's going on with the people, well, here, I'll tell you another thing. It's kind of funny, and hopefully, like, this is safe to say, his fraternity, well, he was a chapter, a sub-chapter. I won't say that one because I don't want them to think that we're talking about, you know, the boop boop. But he is a chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha. Well, and so,
Is that part of Divine?
Yeah, they part of Divine. It's it starts with an O. It's not Omega. I don't know if y'all remember a certain variant after that came later on that was a weaker strand of the, you know, that's the name of his chapter. And so he's part of the Divine Nine, definitely. And just so happened, I remember when I did my little me and Chris, we broke down how many of these people that you see get into elected office just so happen to coincidentally, if they're black especially, be part of the Divine Nine. Not Omega, is OMIC. Y'all can figure out the rest.
Gotcha. Yeah, because one of my comrades in the Orlando chapter is also part of Divine Nine, but he's actually doing work on the ground that actually, you know, pushes forth, you know, material conditions for people. And so he has had his gripes with a lot of Divine Nine, especially especially ones at, you know, HBCUs like Morehouse. Like they should
Morehouse, Howard, Southern, Grambling,
yeah. Like,
Morehouse.
Thinking, man, y'all allowed Joe Biden to speak. Y'all should have walked your behinds out of that stadium because they're gonna send the diplomat to you anyway. So why are you worried about walking across the stage? Like, actually take a stand.
In which I want to say this, so people who are part of those fraternities or sororities, that y'all don't take this the wrong way. everybody who is a part of those fraternities does not automatically make them part of the Boule. Just like everybody who's a Mason does not make you Illuminati. All it does is these are the people which they look to first when selecting. So that doesn't mean every single body is one or that they're doing nefarious things. It just means that this puts you the ability to be in the network. And so a lot of times, some of those people, they might have been trying to groom you or not. They might have said, let's check their temperature. And so, we see that they probably ain't going to really be down with the whole selling out kind of, grovel and step and fetch. So we're not even going to present the option to them. And then let's move to the next. So not everybody who's involved, not everybody who's one of those even gets the initial opportunities. But if you get the opportunity, you are involved one way or another.
Got it. It's kind of like how they operate in corporate media. Like the people who are in corporate media, they got the job because they saw that they have the same type of opinions and same type of stances as the rest of them in corporate media do. That's why they got the job.
And you had to go to certain schools. If you'll notice, you start looking through it, most of the media came from like 15 different schools.
Got it. Okay.
It's a handful of different schools, and it's the same thing which you'll start to see with some of these people. Like as far as elected officials, as far as Black ones in particular, there's only like 3 that are not part of fraternities, and a couple of them are like the son. Like one is Jesse Jackson's son. Like another one is like the nephew of of the first Black congresswoman. Another one is like, so you see, if it's not through being a part of that, it's through what's that word when they, when family nepotism, which that definitely doesn't happen with Trump or Biden.
Yo, tell people where they can find you and what you got going up next.
Well, you guys can find me easiest on the Political Matrix, and we do a show every Saturday night. If not Saturday, then we'll push it to Sunday during the day. You guys can find me on social media, either at Marcus James Cage or at Real Marcus J. Or was it Real Marcus Cage? Either one. Marcus Cage, Young Morpheus. I'm not hard to find. That Diddy one is hilarious. Check it out if y'all just check it out. And the Alex Jones. I know you remember Alex Jones when he was talking about, that he will eat your leftist. He's like, I'll eat your leftist ass. If y'all haven't seen that one, go check that one out. I just put that one up a couple of days ago. It's kind of funny. So I try to mix it in a little bit of funny stuff too. Not always serious, but yeah. Again, thank you, JB, for having me on. Much appreciation, much love. Oh yeah, and I said I was going to do this. So Nick will not come on the show with me because I'm from Kansas and he hates people from Kansas, and he's just evil towards us and he doesn't treat us fair. And he said I got my glasses offend him, and my breath stink and my ears are dirty. I'm just I told Nick I'm a mess with him until he come on the show.
I'm gonna play this for him. I'll play that for him.
Good.
All right, man. So good to see you, man. Give a shout out, give a hello to Chris for me. I'll have him on soon.
I definitely will. And much love to RBN. Y'all knocking it out of the park. Good job over there. We appreciate y'all. Much love. And so same to Sabby. Sabby had me on like what was it, last week or week before. Much love to her. Much love to Rome. Much love to Nick too. So yeah, y'all just keep doing what y'all doing, and y'all keep supporting them out there. And much love to everybody who tuned in, who's supporting JB. Appreciate all of y'all. And if y'all enjoy hearing some of what I got to say, make sure y'all come by the Political Matrix. Y'all can double dip. Y'all not cheating on RBN if y'all come say what's up to us.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Take care. I'll see you in the interwebs.
All righty, brother.
All right. Bye. All right, everybody. That was a great conversation with Marcus. If you guys have not, I already put the link to his and Chris's channel in the description, so you guys can also have that there. Yeah, so let's get into the chat, as well as let me give my shout out to the patrons on Patreon. So let's get into that real quick so that we can make sure to shout people out. Wait a minute. Oh, that's why. Okay. All right. So just want to give a huge shout out to the, I'm way down here, to patrons on Patreon. Without you guys, I would not be able to do this work right now that you guys see. If you guys would like to, you guys can become patrons on Patreon. But here are the tiers: Mega Jaybefaunters, Super Duper Jaybefaunters, Super Jaybefaunters, Jaybefaunters, Comrade, Solidarity, and JB members, and all to new members. A huge shout out and thank you to all of you as well. It is much appreciated. So thank you very much for that. And just to let you guys know, by the way, my channel is still demonetized. So if you like to support the channel, you can support via Patreon or PayPal. So we have that there. Now, I'm going to go to the chat, say what's up to everybody, and also talk about the last segment that we just had. It is a great Saturday. And also I gotta get cooking too, because I'm making turkey wings. Turkey wings now, turkey wings, turkey wings. Sorry, I had to. All right, let's go into the chat on Rockfin really quick first. All right, so good to see Anna Mares says, happy Saturday, JB. Hempcar says, do the crime, do the time, as they like to say. They evade all responsibility. They're the worst type of people. Says, if you steal an entire continent, you can expect to get effed up. They're asking for it, then blame dumb and innocent. Satan could do no worse. All right, so thank you very much to everybody that is on on the Rockfin. So thank you so very much to you guys who are watching. I have a few starred in the beginning. So we have Miguel H coming in saying, peace, good to see you. Leprechaun Alley says, when you return to the chat, just want to leave a message that you are all loved. Oh, thank you so very much, Leprechaun Alley. Appreciate it very much. Thank you so very much to Marcus. He said, make sure to hit that like button. Yes, by the way, hit the like button. Sean Miller says, I did 3 years, hardest question in an interview. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know a few people who have actually had to do time, and that is rough, man. And especially if it's just for a simple possession. I mean, even if it's a felony possession, like if they are legalizing it now, then you should get that expunged and you should be pardoned. I don't see why that is not possible. And so, you know, so that people don't have to have that moment in an interview. It's like, when you know better, you do better. But how are you going to do better if you're not doing better by people who you've done wrong in the past? So, yeah. Let's go to the rest of the chat here. Roger Meadows says DeSantis violated the 24th Amendment. He violates everything. His face violates our eyes. Anyway, thank you very much for that. Dwayne says, so slavery continues to this day. Well, it's in the 13th Amendment. Let's talk, we talked about it many times before. Rondo says legalization does lift a major amount of stress. Yes, it definitely does. I agree with you on that. Appreciate it very much for that, Rondo. Let me see here. Golden Monarch says, we are slaves to technology in terms of currency, censorship, big tech. I agree. That's a whole nother conversation, but yes. Soul Contract says, trust me, I know that if a teen wants to go to the moon, the pharmacy has all you need. The thing is like people talk about, different substances and things like that. If a teenager really wants to get their hands on something, they know how to get their hands on something. I honestly do think that, it's just like, for instance, prohibition has been overturned for well over 100 years now, and yet teens are still trying to drink underage. All you can do is try to, push them in the right direction so that they do not consume, and in teaching, once they do turn of legal age, safe consumption. That's the only thing you can do. But yeah, teens are always going to try to do things that aren't necessarily for their age because they're trying to push, you know what I mean? It's just you try to gear them in a direction where it's good for them. I agree with the not for anyone under 21 because of the brain development. So from a scientific perspective, your brain is still developing. So therefore, any type of consumption of these mind-altering substances, which also includes alcohol, I don't think a teenager should be consuming until they're at least 21 years of age, because scientifically, you want their brains to develop fully. That's the issue. So with that being said, I do not agree with teens, anyone under 21 consuming. Just saying. Let me see. Jacqueline says, even if the substance was legalized, there's still a worry that people could lose their jobs if they fail a mandatory drug test. Yes. And the thing is like, if you can consume alcohol the night before, right? But you don't get penalized for that. You don't get your likelihood to not be hired is not due to you having alcohol in your system. Then if cannabis is still found in your system through a drug test at work or when you're trying to apply for a job, I think they should overlook cannabis, period. You know what I'm saying? Because like, what if they find Ambien in your system because you take Ambien to help you sleep? You know what I'm saying? That's a medication that can influence you. Or what if they find, what if you had a surgery and they find an opiate in your system that was prescribed to you by your doctor, right? Like, if it's legalized, I honestly do think that companies should now start overlooking cannabis inside somebody's system. Because the thing is, it's like, my thing is, as long as you're not coming to work under the influence, now for some people, they may have to because that's the only way they can function, which is different than alcohol. But as long as you're not coming to work under the influence and you're able to do your job safely, stop screening people for that particular one. Like, if you want to do the harder stuff, okay, go ahead, fine. Because according to the law, it's illegal. But it's like, if it's legal in your state, especially, why are you screening for it? You know? Anyway. Finger Man says, no Roundup in my 91. Ooh, 93. No Monsanto in that gas, baby. No Monsanto. Oh my goodness. Soul Concho says Colorado is the best example of how cannabis works. Official People's Party USA says freed up. Oh my goodness. You guys are funny. Tim Price says, oh yeah, if you haven't seen the dude downtown wrecking the bars, you believe he blazes up. Oh yeah. Yeah. Talking about John Morgan. Jacqueline says it's an open secret in the UK that there are politicians, especially Tories, who the nose candy, and it wouldn't surprise me if drug use was prevalent among politicians in the US. Oh, you know it is. Rules for thee, but not for me. That's, yeah. You know what? Hang on. Wait, somebody said something. Oh, they should. I wonder if they have one called Kentucky Bluegrass. He says, you know, he needs the big black bluegrass, no Huckabee over there. That's funny. You guys are hilarious. I love my audience. Luke Carlos says, all wars, class war, Oprah not the exception. Absolutely. Let me see. Just going to people who I haven't said anything to yet. Let me see. Anybody else in the chat that I haven't spoken to yet? All right. Kyria Grigor says, yeah, it should be the law. Yeah. Wendy Carvalho says, just popping in the chat, say hi. I'm an hour behind. So, oh, nice to have you, Wendy. That's my cousin's name, Wendy. Nice to have you. Roger Meadow says legalization doesn't mean jack if the path for those who are incarcerated cannot have first dibs at developing a business in a new industry. And it ends up being monopolized by corporate cannabis. Learn from New York. Oh, yes, Roger. Thank you very much. I was thinking about this earlier when I had Marcus on, but it slipped my mind. Also, I think if we get legalization here in Florida, just like they have in Maryland, I honestly do think that once legalization happens, all of them, including those with felony possession and intent to sell should also be pardoned, and their records should be expunged. And they should also be given a scholarship to business class in order to know how to run a business, and then given seed money. Those same people who are convicted should be given seed money to go to open their own storefront for doing the thing that they got arrested 4 years prior, because now it's legalized. And then on top of that, they don't have to explain to an employer, oh, well, I did 3 years or 4 years or 6 months in the pen or in jail because of possession, even though it may be expunged, that gap is still seen there. So now they can open up their own storefront. They got the seed money. And guess what? That's an economic stimulus for your state. By the way, I think it would behoove you to have a partnership with somebody who owns a restaurant and open up right next to the restaurant. I'm just saying. Okay. But yes, thank you so very much, Roger Meadows. Especially if you got a food truck and you sell some soul food at that food truck. Just putting out some ideas out there. All right. So thank you very much for that, Roger. I appreciate it. Roger said he wasn't going to be able to come into the chat much because he's driving. But Roger's up in there. Roger's in here. Glad to see you. Let me see. Just looking for. All right. All right, I think I pretty much got everybody that I needed to get to. All right. So let's get, actually, let me check the Rumble chat because I got chewed out for that one last time. Oh, yep. Yes. We have some people in the chat on Rumble. I gotta figure out how to get Rumble chat on here in StreamYard. All right. So Corona Ursa says, I knew I was right not to vote for West. Interesting, Corona Ursa. You are, hang on, let me see if I can I? Yes. Okay. So you were actually in Maryland. Interesting. What do you think about him, Corona? An non-user says, in tech, they call it vaporware words, but no product. Interesting. Oh, I like that. Yeah, so let me see. A non-user says Obama has a mansion that the bankers purchased for him. Interesting. Yeah. Wow. Thank you so very much. Yeah. Whew. That is interesting. All right. Roger says, JB, Nancy Reagan campaign did a Just Say No campaign against drugs while her husband was importing cocaine into the country. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. Nancy Reagan. Lord and Lord. Meanwhile, she's probably, downing mimosas and box wine like a fish. Anyway, let's get into the next topic. What are we going to be talking about now? So, are housekeepers winning? Interesting. Housekeeping. A lot of times when you think about housekeepers, you typically have this particular image in your brain. Housekeepers typically are women, first of all, and then they are of a particular ethnicity and race. But they seem to be winning in Florida. And it's a really interesting story that I want to get into. So let me share my screen, because when I saw this, I said, no way. The salaries are going up? Wait, up and away.
Service jobs in wealthy Palm Beach, Florida is reaching new extremes. It has even led to bidding wars for housekeepers and exploding salaries. Robert Frank joins us now with more on this.
Wait, bidding wars? Bidding wars for housekeepers? Hold the phone, chicken bone. What in the world is going on here? Let's continue. Let's listen.
This story, it's expensive to be rich, Robert. I think
it is more than ever. Thousands of wealthy New Yorkers moved to Florida after the pandemic. They bought big homes in Palm Beach and Miami. They need cleaning. The problem is there weren't enough experienced cleaners. So now Florida's wealth boom has touched off a housekeeper shortage. Salaries for experienced housekeepers in Palm Beach more than doubled since 2020. The typical salary, get this, is now $110,000 to $150,000, including overtime, 401ks, and health insurance. Most housekeepers are asking $50 an hour or more. Staffing agencies say some executive housekeepers, that's where they clean and they help manage a cleaning staff, are topping $200,000, and bidding wars have become common.
I may need to grab a microfiber cloth and some Windex, bro. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Where's my can of scrubbing bubbles at? You don't mean to tell us? Look at this! Lo, you look at this. 110 to 150,000 a year includes overtime, 401k, healthcare benefits, and an average hourly rate of $50 an hour just to clean somebody's house. I wish. Oh my goodness. Why? We're going to get into that in a second. But rich people are literally having to shell out more money because there's not enough people to keep their houses clean. This is crazy. Oh my gosh, let's continue.
I've never seen anything like it.
Me neither.
I mean, to go from $20, $25 an hour to such a hike in such a short period of time, it's really surprising to us.
Right. She said I should what? She slipped something.
To us.
Right. Now hotels.
She said I should. It shouldn't? What do you mean it shouldn't? What are you talking about, ma'am? What are you talking about, April? You heard that, right? You heard that too, didn't you?
It's really surprising.
See, it shouldn't. Come on, April. See, this is how capitalism works, right? And aren't you guys supposed to be free market fundamentalists who want to get people who compete for the best? Isn't it supposed to be supply and demand? Well, the supply is lower, which means the demand goes up, which means you got to pay top dollar for it. I mean, that's what, baby, my sweet summer child. See, I'm going to talk about real quick in a second about why the supply is so low, which increases the demand. You free market fundamentalists, you guys should have seen this coming, but you didn't. And so now the rich people have to pay through the nose just to keep their houses clean. Well, oh, baby, let's get into it.
To us.
Right. Now, hotels and resorts also have a shortage, but that's a different labor pool since housekeepers for the wealthy need very specific skills. There's also higher demand for chefs, nannies, and butlers. Those are called hospitality managers now, but need for those staff not nearly as high as for housekeepers. By the way, you can read more about the housekeeper shortage and where the wealthy are investing in the new Inside Wealth newsletter. Just went live right now. You can head to cnbc.com/inside.
So those salary levels, I mean, so this is a full-time person that you're employing for the most part?
Absolutely. And it's this perfect storm where you have, the big problem with inflation now is wage inflation in the service sector. So that's the sort of apex of that. Then you had this huge wealth migration to Florida, which sort of in some communities doubled the need for housekeepers. And then you have a wealthy consumer base that will pay whatever it takes to get the staff. And so those three things coming together, I mean, this really is the ultimate sign of wage inflation in the service sector. We're seeing it in California restaurants, and we're seeing it in cleaning staff throughout the country, but no more than what you've seen in
hotel. The houses that we're looking at, this is not like a normal person's issues.
These are 30,000 square feet houses that often have 3 or 4 housekeepers, and the demand now is for the executive housekeeper or head housekeeper that not only cleans but also manages the staff. And there's now going to be a training school in Palm Beach because they can't find qualified candidates. So now people are making money from training the housekeepers because there's so much demand.
Why isn't there more housekeepers? Well, the people who typically do a lot of housekeeping, especially within the state of Florida, are a particular set of people that do not have or lack citizenship within this country. So therefore, a lot of them are demonized and held back. So therefore, the pool of housekeepers is very low. So, might I remind you of the law that Ron DeSantis signed not too long ago. Remember, I talked about this, and this was a big thing. Florida immigrants detail their exit following DeSantis immigration law. I had to leave, the blurb says. An undocumented immigrant who built a business and a life in Tampa is one of many who have left. They don't want us here. Let's go into it. Says when David Guerrero and his large family fled Florida in May, they left behind beds, mattresses, furniture, and construction tools they used to make a living. But it's where he thinks of his children's toys that his voice breaks. He said, "This is what hurt me the most, my girls who no longer have toys." He's from El Salvador, who until a few weeks ago had a home, a yard, and a business with his family in Florida. So Ron DeSantis signed SB 1718, the immigration law that goes into effect July 1st. The law imposes strict restrictions and penalties to deter the employment of undocumented workers in the state. Says of the 10 people who lived in the Guerrero house, only 3 were children, the U.S. citizens. The others did not have legal immigration status. They left Tampa on May 30th. From there, for the same street where a month earlier, Guerrero had seen the belongings left behind by other immigrants and joked in a popular TikTok video that he would be next. So it's more people that talk about how they, because of that immigration law, that they were essentially threatened with deportation and jail time if they were working in the state because of what Ron DeSantis did. So of course they're gonna flee the state. It says some 2.7 million immigrants made up 26% of Florida's labor force in 2018. More than 300,000 worked in the construction sector. So if you guys remember, construction projects nearly stopped. Once this law came into effect, construction projects just stopped at all. But people were focused on the construction workers. What about the people in hospitality and in cleaning homes? Well, a lot of them had to stop too. And then you also had the influx of a lot of rich moving from places like Massachusetts and New York and New Hampshire, right, and Connecticut, and they moved down because it's warmer here, because it's nicer. You have that nice year-round warm weather, but because of the mix of DeSantis signing that into law, so immigrants are fleeing Florida, and then you have an influx of more wealthy rich people, but now there are people who clean houses aren't there anymore. And so guess what? They're not there anymore. And so this is why there's a shortage. Now, could that slack be picked up by the rest of us? Yes. But the question is, do some of us want to pick up that slack by working and making that money? I don't know. Because the thing is, like, there's some of us may have this, like, I don't want to do that type of work, type of mindset. But I will be honest with you, $150,000 a year. Now, when you get more people in the industry that are doing it, then that rate is actually going to go down, because now that the supply increases, that means the demand is going to go down, which means that they're not going to want to pay as much. But right now, it's popping. I'm just saying. So let's continue. So this basically, it said it's difficult to know the number of immigrants who have left the state. Local communities and leaders base counts on what they hear by word of mouth. A neighbor who's left the house, a worker who never came back. So the Florida Policy Institute has stated that legislation could cost Florida's economy $12.6 billion a year. 6 industries, including construction, agriculture, and services, employ an estimated 391,000 undocumented workers, about 10% of workers in those sectors. So it says, even though the law hasn't taken effect yet, the Florida Immigration Coalition has already received complaints that some clinics have been asking patients about their immigration status, even though only hospitals that accept Medicaid are required to ask about immigration status, and patients may decline to answer the question. So it talks about 40,000 farm workers, many who are undocumented, work every harvest season. So you got 40,000 farm workers that, you got people who are leaving that sector. So this is why this is why there's a need for housekeepers, particularly. And here's the underlying problem. And I always say this, but I think it bears repeating because some of you are new. Welcome to the channel. There are 2 sets of victims. There is the set of victims that have to flee their countries because of U.S. imperialism, colonialism, from the destabilization of their countries in places like Guatemala, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Venezuela. The destabilization that happens, and the war on drugs is also part of it, forces them to flee their countries, their homes, the places where they grew up, to come to a country where over half the people don't want them here. And they come here to try to make a better life for themselves. Because of that destabilization that our government is doing, and then most of the time, they get exploited. They get paid starvation wages. And then what? If they try to band together to increase their wages, or if they try to say no and demand for higher wages, guess what? There's somebody that's waiting at the border that will take their job. Or they ultimately will risk being reported and deported back to the country that they fled from. So their hands are tied. They have to eat. They need a place to live. But then what ends up happening is, because they're being used as the scabs, essentially, for being exploited labor, and those of us who are citizens, especially those of us who are American descendants of slaves, that want to hold out and say, well, no, we don't want that. We want our wages to be higher, and we want more benefits as workers, well, then they don't have to meet our demands because they already have workers to exploit. And that's how capitalism works, because these corporations need workers to exploit to pay lower wages so that they can make more profit. That's how it works. And so that's why I say there's always two victims. There's the undocumented immigrants that are victims of U.S. imperialism, of destabilization. And then there's those of us who are workers in this country that are also victims, because they're using them to exploit so that we do not have the increased livable wages and way of life that we are demanding from these corporations and business owners. Ultimately, the person who is the primary enemy is really the parasite class, who loves to exploit the undocumented immigrants and loves to look at us and say, no, I can find somebody to pay way cheaper than your black ass. So that's how it is. This is why I always say solidarity with workers who are also immigrants is very important. And so when it comes to stories like this, even though it is positive for people who may be getting into the housekeeping sector, let's look at what the underlying reason for this is. The underlying reason for this is because capitalism eats itself eventually, because now these corporate parasites now have to pay through the nose just to keep their houses clean, because ultimately they want to do a band-aid fix to the immigration problem. A more permanent fix would be to make it so that the countries that these immigrants have to flee from, their homes, are no longer destabilized, that they don't have to flee anymore, that they can just come here maybe on a visit, and maybe a visit work visa, you know what I'm saying? And then, be happy to go home and chill at their home, because quiet as it's kept, you do not leave a home where you're happy at. You do not leave a home where you got it good. But because our country is destabilizing their country and making it hard for them to live, they have to come here. Now, do I want them to come here? Absolutely. But I don't want them to come here under duress. I want them to come here because they just want to experience the United States. They shouldn't have to come here under duress. They should come here because it's something that is joyful for them to just come and be here. And then if they want to go back home, it's easy for them to do so. Because humans have the right to movement in this world. But that's not what the corporate dictators want. They want that steady flow of exploitative workers to come here so that they can use them and then just toss them aside. So I think it behooves us to have as much solidarity with workers, especially ones who are undocumented, because they're victims just like we are. They made the hard choice to have to travel here. And they're not the ones that are taking our jobs. They're being used, just like we are. I think it's time for us to band together and to stand up, because these corporate leeches want us to keep our backs bent so they can stand on top of us every single time. But make no mistake, if you can milk as much money out of these corporate leeches as possible, then go ahead and milk your money. Get yours. The party's not going to last long. Be real, true. It's not. But get the milk while you can. Just saying. Go ahead and give the stream a like. Pushes me out into the algorithm. Thank you so very much. Let's get into the chat. 1 second. All right, let me check. I'm gonna check the Rumble real quick first. Oh, guys, this is gonna be funny. Okay. Steel Wister says you were never a slave, so why even bring that BS up? Because my ancestors were, and then we are disproportionately affected by the system of chattel slavery. By the way, chattel slavery still exists because the 13th Amendment actually still allows for slavery, especially if you are incarcerated in this country. Says the government is using illegal aliens to drive down the cost of workers. It's not the government necessarily. It is corporate dictators, it's corporate leeches, and they use the government in order to be able to do that. That part is true, but really government is like a hammer. Whoever wields it can use it either to build or to destroy. Guess who owns the government? The corporations. Seal Wister says capitalism is the best ism that has ever worked around the world. Socialism and communism are failures that kill societies. Then why in the hell was it that China actually lifted over 800 million people out of poverty? Why is it that Cuba, they send doctors around the world to do the jobs that we at the United States should be able to do, but we really don't do that good of a job of? They actually send doctors instead of people with boots on the ground in order to, instead of smoking people in the street who happen to be brown, they actually help people, right? And he says, are you going to cry victimism? Is victimization forever, or stand up and create your own future? By the way, I actually am, because I actually get out in the streets and actually try to help my community. What about you? First of all. Second of all, the thing is like talking about the crimes that were done to you is not victimization, and working to reverse the crimes that were done to you is not victimization. Is actually taking your future into your own hands so that you can be able to have something better. And I'm not working for something better for just myself, because that's individualism. I'm also trying to work to make the world better by doing what I'm doing out in the streets too. What about you, Steel Wister 660? I don't see you doing the same thing. So but thank you so much for watching. That raises the algorithm for me in Rumble. Yes, a non-user. Steel Wister racist much? I hit dog a holler. Anyway, thank you very much for watching on Rumble. Let's go to the rest of the chat. Let me go into the Rockfin. Solid like a rock. Dun, 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 dun. They didn't expect me to go on Rumble to read that, but I did. James, I did. Thank you for the tip on Rockfin. Roger Meadows says, seeing the migrant labor has depressed wages and especially hurt freedmen labor. I approve of the DeSantis law. A lot of these construction jobs were filled by us. This makes this conservative and American freedmen argument we have been making. We don't take those jobs because pay and lack of benefits. Sagar made this argument here. He says start at 1335. hang on. You said 1335. Oh, sorry, 1333. All right. Okay.
It's also, I mean, the morality, listen, to me, the morality part is very important. But I also think even Donald Trump would realize, like, economically, it would be such a disaster. Half of farm workers just, that's it. No more, crops rotting in the field. If you think prices were high recently, like, it would be nothing compared to that.
I just hate this argument.
You'd have supply chain issues. You'd have meat processing plants shut down. You'd have, construction, like housing costs are already astronomical. You've got some 20% of the construction industry that's undocumented immigrants, cooks, restaurants, food prep. I mean, just the widespread economic chaos would be political and economic suicide.
But I would put it this way. It's bad for American GDP to go into a trade war with China. I still support it. I fully admit and believe that it is bad for top line GDP. I think it's bad for a lot of businesses. I don't care. I think it's the right thing to do. Same thing here. It's like, so our broken system employs a bunch of people who are here illegally and who are unskilled. It's like, yeah, deportation or forcing them to leave through self-deportation matters through E-Verify. Will there be a higher cost? Yes, true. Will wages go up? Yeah, I do believe that. I mean, will it be bad for Tyson Food meat processing? Will Costco rotisserie chicken stay at $5?
It wouldn't just be bad for Tyson Food. It would be bad
probably not
for families who are trying to buy Tyson Food
I
in
agree.
Costco.
Yes, it's true. Yeah, the price will go up. Let's be very real here. I believe
massively.
The price will probably go up. Will be a more cohesive society? Will we have better supply and demand and better wages? Yeah, I believe that.
Listen.
So sometimes we just have to sit here and lay out the full truth. And also, I believe the full thing should be laid out to the American people. Like I said on the China issue.
Yeah.
If you ask them, are you willing to pay higher prices and your stuff doesn't come from China? Most people say yes. There's a lot of polling on this. So on the same thing, it's like, well, what do you want? What do you want? What country do you want to live in?
So
we can live in all low prices.
The cohesive society thing, I just want to put to the side because I think that's, first of all, I just wildly disagree. Actually, the poll numbers support the fact that you don't have, actually, racial divides have never been less in terms of political partisan identities than at any time, in our lives. But so I want to put the cohesive society part to the side because I think that is very fraught and also very subjective. But, we really disagree about the economics of this.
Sure.
First of all, the typical view of just supply and demand of workers. And so, if you increase the supply, it's going to create lower wages. It's not that there's nothing to that, but the real picture is much more complicated than that because, if you think about, for example, you now have deported or in the process of deporting 50% of all farm workers. All right, well, that's going to have huge economic implications for those farmers. It's going to have huge economic implications for the consumers. It's not really likely to increase wages because why? Because workers don't really have enough power in the country to be able to claim their share of the, economic pie. So that's why I always think it's a red herring to focus on immigration as the sole. And I'm not saying this necessarily about you, Sagar, because you do embrace unionism and other things. But most politicians on the right embrace reducing immigration as the sole path to increasing wages when they have no other demonstrated interest in raising wages in any other policy area. If you look throughout history, most consistently, the thing that has increased wages has been worker power. If you look at the charts, if you look at, when unions started to decline and workers started to have less power and then the New Deal coalition starts to fall apart, that's when you see wages decline. And it's not up and down with regard to what the immigration levels happen to be at that point. So if the actual concern is wages, I'm not going to deny that levels of immigration have an impact there. I think that would be, dishonest. Although, again, I think it's much more complicated. And if you look at the studies, they would suggest it's much more complicated. But the real thing you would want to do is increase worker power so that they can claim their share of the record-breaking corporate profits that we've seen. So, to take up your example with China trade, which I'm also sympathetic to that, to that direction as well. For me there, you have a real, which was demonstrated during the pandemic, you have a real problem in this country, which is that we have outsourced so much that we are really vulnerable And, it's a problem for consumers. We saw when the pandemic hit and you couldn't get things and there were shortages and prices escalated, et cetera. But even more to the point, we weren't making our own face masks.
Mm-hmm.
Like our industrial capacity has been so stripped that it really creates a national vulnerability. And I don't see a better way to deal with that than, some of the nearshoring and friendshoring and, reshoring and some of the programs, the industrial policy that's being engaged in under Joe Biden, which does have the potential to somewhat increase prices. Here, if your concern is wages, I see way better ways to go about this that aren't, cruel and don't require massive expansion of the deep state and are much less costly and are ultimately, and don't massively, create potential hyperinflation in food prices and meat prices and housing prices, et cetera. So to me, the solution of, let's just shut down immigration, it doesn't make sense for that to be the solution if the problem you're trying to solve is wages.
I think it's a yes and. I mean, if you look at a lot of those times, there are also times where we had historically low levels of immigration, or it's what type of country do you live in at that time? So it's very unfair to compare high levels of immigration combined with a mass industrial economy. We have 6 to 8 million people who have arrived in this country in the last 4 years who we are lucky if they are literate in.
Hang on, I'm going to go off of what Crystal just said. So I see her point where she is saying how, in my opinion, in the beginning, would it be an economic boon to workers who are citizens who take these jobs? Yes. But that's going to be temporary until it becomes more saturated. Because you can start off with, like, for instance, these housekeeping workers, yeah, they're demanding $150,000 a year for a housekeeping job. Yeah. But then once everybody starts to realize, it's on and popping, and they start to flood the market, guess what? That wage is going to go boom, 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 boom. And it's not going to be because of having more undocumented workers. Like, yeah, right now it's on and popping, but just wait until you get to a point where it's no longer on and popping. And those wages go down because the demand goes down. See what I mean? So while I see what Sagar is saying, ultimately, it's like, yes, you're taking out the influx of too many people to be exploited, which I agree with, but it's the way you go about it. See, capitalists like to put band-aids on problems. They like to solve the symptom or cure the symptom, not the underlying cause. The underlying cause is really the destabilization that's happening in these countries. It's the war on drugs. It's all these different things that they essentially want to keep going so that they can have this influx of labor. Now, what Ron DeSantis did is really just he tried to fix the symptom instead of trying to fix the underlying cause. What could he do to beat the underlying cause? Well, he could end the war on drugs in the state of Florida immediately. He could do it, but he doesn't want to because he's beholden to the corporate dictators. This is him feeding red meat to his base, yeah. And of course, it's a temporary fix, but it's not something permanent because once you start to get more workers who are trying to demand that much, guess what? A lot of these companies, a lot of these corporate dictators, they're not going to want to pay that much, because they're going to have more workers to choose from. Because, yeah, right now it's 150,000, but guess what? Then it's going to go down to 125,000, then 100,000, then 75,000, then it's going to go back down to 50,000, and then you're back to square one. Because the underlying cause was never actually addressed. Now, some people may say, I'd rather take it temporary than none at all. But guess what? You're still going to have an exploited workforce. Ultimately. Now, I can hear the rest of Sagar's argument, but I don't think he's going to go at it from that route. So let's listen.
Look at a lot of those times. There are also at times where we had historically low levels of immigration, or it's what type of country do you live in at that time? So it's very unfair to compare high levels of immigration combined with a mass industrial economy. We have 6 to 8 million people who have arrived in this country in the last 4 years who we are lucky if they are literate in Spanish, let alone English. Don't speak any English in a society which is rapidly deindustrializing and going towards a service-based economy and knowledge-based economy. It just doesn't work. It's one of those where then there is a huge amount of competition in the lower wage and lower skilled sector. So not only that, billions of dollars being thrown at, so basically, allowing these people to live here rent-free. In charity wise, I mean, you can look it up. Unless they have a work permit, they literally have to live on charity, which is
right. Which is why they should have work permits.
But why should they have work permits? You arrive here
so
illegally.
That they can,
it's bullshit. I mean, they're coming here from countries. By the way, El Salvador just solved all of its crime problems. Do you know what the crime rate in El Salvador is now? It's lower than like Manhattan. So you can go back. You don't have to fear for your life anymore. Honduras is building a 10,000 person prison to implement the exact same thing. This whole idea that these countries can't solve their own problems, which they are now solving, is BS. Okay. Like this TPS status for people who've been living here 25, 30 years. It's outrageous.
But the problem is the problem was caused not by them. It was caused by our government. Sagar, it's like, dude. The problem is that the United States actually needs to fix this problem, and they need to, if they really want to slow the rate of undocumented immigrants coming across our borders, then you need to fix what you did to their governments. And if they want to go the route of becoming a socialist country, then you just allow them to do whatever the people want to do. That's their sovereignty. That's their autonomy. But you don't want to do that. So therefore you keep it that way so that they also will bleed the amount of undocumented immigrants they have so that they can come across our borders so that the corporations can have their share of undocumented people who they can exploit. I didn't know I was going to be doing a whole reaction to this, but it's necessary.
Again, so you view migrants as
So for the most part, I see what you're saying, Roger, but at the same time, it's a temporary fix, and it's how long is this going to last? Maybe 6 months to a year, maybe a year, 2 years, but I don't see it lasting very long because they're still going to depress wages to exploit, because you can't keep the wages up in that way. I mean, unless somebody comes up with, a mass amount of worker co-ops in a short period of time to keep, the prices high. But then that means you're going to need, these corporations to stay the way they are. And I don't know. It's just a lot. But yeah, thank you so very much for that. Let's go to the rest of the chat. Let me see. Jacqueline says, I was in a hospital yesterday and I noticed how clean the place was, even with loads of people walking in and out. Cleaners really do an important job. Yes. Hospital, especially people who are hospital housekeepers, they are an important piece. And I honestly think that they don't get paid enough. They should get paid way more than what they already do. I think you should take the money from the hospital administrators and start giving it to the housekeepers. Because the thing is that how do you keep infectious diseases down? Right? How do you keep, infectious bacteria down? You have to have a hospital, housekeeping system that really keeps it clean. And you need people to do those jobs. And the people who do those jobs should be paid good money in order to do it because their job is that essential. You see. Dwayne says we're experiencing capitalism in its cancer phase, destroying the host. Yes. Thank you very much. Good to see you, Sebastiano. Nice to have you in the chat. Dwayne says blaming immigrants who have had the capitalists destabilize their governments is counterproductive. They should be organized at the border. I agree. I mean, yeah. Henry says, right on, JB, ignore the haters. Thank you so very much. All right. Appreciate it. Let me see. Donnie says, all saga, the poor economy. Official People's Party says, yeah, Sagar is not a populist. First off, there's no such thing as a right or a left in true populism. True populism is indigenous dying from the bottom to the top. I need to have somebody indigenous on to talk about that, because there's a lot of things that we take from indigenous culture and we think of it as, oh my God, this is novel. We've never seen this before, when indigenous people have been doing it for hundreds and hundreds of years. So yeah, like for instance, the democracies that we have, were taken from indigenous culture. So, I mean, thank you very much. Let me see. I agree with this, Roger. Worker cooperatives is the only way. Worker cooperatives needs to happen. Yes. All One Same says domination is key to the market's success, and that needs to change. Exploitation is ruining us. I agree. Let me see. All right. All right. So I'm going to head on out. I got to get this meal started. My mom is going to be in there. She's going to want to strangle me since I didn't get this meal started on time. But I want to get that done. Tim Price says, it's funny when bozos get in the chat and don't realize that every cliche talking point insult they use is like 10,000 memes already in left circles. Yeah. It's like, oh my God, socialism has failed. And I'm like, how in the world, if it actually failed, then how are they still in existence despite all the sanctions that the West has put on them, and they're still surviving? Like, how? You know what I'm saying? And here's the thing, if socialism doesn't work, then lift the sanctions. Lift it. Take it away and let them fall and crumble on their own. But you can't, because if you did, then that means that they would start to thrive. And that they start to thrive, then that means that we would look at them and go, oh, wait a minute, I guess there is a better system. So it's just, when people say that, it's crazy. That's like Usain Bolt, and you have him run, but you have him running through a pool of mud, and then you're going, oh, look at him, he's slowed down, he can't make it. You just need to get rid of him. Just get rid of Usain Bolt. And then it's like, but you have him running through a pool of mud. Get him out of the mud and watch him go. And yet he's still going too, by the way. And yet you're seeing, oh, Usain Bolt can't run, even though he's still running through that pool of mud. Get him out of the mud. Let him run. Let him go. And then next thing you know, he smokes you on the course. Yeah. Roger says cats out here talking their capitalists don't even own a business, but be workers themselves. Yeah, exactly. If you're a capitalist, that means that you own capital. That means you own the means of production. That means you own the factory, you own the bar, you own the restaurant, you own the corporation, you own the firm. But if you don't own it, you're a capitalist, you're a worker. Just caping for them. Oh my God. Roger, do not get me on my soapbox right now, because if I get on my soapbox right now, we're going to be here all night long. All right. Indy, good to see you. Forehead kisses to you too. Indy News Network. Hey, guys, if you guys have not followed Indy News Network, Indy does great work. You guys just reached 2,000 subs as well. Congratulations on your subscribers of 2,000. If you guys have not, go ahead and subscribe to their channel too. But yeah, I'm so happy for y'all. You guys reached 2,000 subs. Y'all at 2,000 now. All right. Thank you. Leprechaun says, exactly. So dishonest. This is the message to hit small local businesses with. Yeah. Spelt like this. Dine or. Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Okay. So I'm going to head on out because I got some cooking to do. I went to the gym earlier today. That exercise bike kicked my behind. Lord. Oh, geez. And then my muscles were twitching from the tricep workout. So I'm gonna be sore tomorrow. But all is good in the neighborhood. Oh, by the way, tomorrow on RBN, I will be speaking to Rathbone. So we're going to have a discussion. We're going to go over a news topic or two. So that's going to be a great discussion. It'll be my first time meeting him. So I cannot wait for that. So be sure to be there or be square. Also, this Tuesday. Hold up. Wait. Who I got on coming on this Tuesday? Hang on. I know. Look, I'll be 40. I'll be 40 in a week. So, yes, Andre Stackhouse will be joining me this Tuesday. He's running for governor of Washington State under the Green Party. So we're going to be talking to Andre Stackhouse this Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So be sure to be back on this channel to also be there for that. I cannot wait. It was going to be a great conversation. So yes, and thanks a lot to Marcus Cage for coming on. It was a great conversation, great perspectives from him. I cannot wait to have him back on. It is going to be really good as well. Edward Cortez, it's funny that they blame the immigrants from taking the jobs in the U.S., but not penalize the corporate owners hired. Right? Dear God. Thank you so much for saying it, Edward. But yes, oh, by the way, I'll be getting into, I still got to do this, but the Water in the Spirit reading, and then Prejudicial, I got to get into that. It's been a long day. And then The Will to Change by Bell Hooks. We'll be getting back into those readings. So yeah, actually, while I'm on it, the next book reading, should I just do a live reading tomorrow evening? What do you guys think? I'm thinking about just doing a live reading tomorrow evening. I can't remember what the next reading I'm supposed to be doing is. Hang on, let me take a look, because I know I did a reading before I moved out. What was the last reading I did? Okay, the last reading I did was Prejudicial. So that was the last reading I did, which means Of Water in the Spirit needs to be the next reading that I do. So are you guys down for me going live tomorrow evening to do a reading? of water in the spirit, because I can totally do it. Either that or I can just do a pre-record and then just, upload it. But I was just wondering what you guys think, because I'll be covering that. Because I want to make sure I get back into doing my readings. So let's see. Oh, he said do it. I'm thinking 8-ish. What do you guys think? 8-ish? 8 p.m. or 7? What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. If you guys want 7, put a 7. If you guys want 8, put 8. The reason why I'm trying to do that is because I'm trying to avoid streaming while there's other channels that I know of that are streaming. So going to pump it through X, Twitter. Yeah, I'll do it. X and Twitter, I'll also be doing that. I can do it tomorrow at 8 p.m. because I try to keep my readings no more than 45 minutes, my readings and discussion. So, by the time I'm done, it should be, 10 minutes to 9. So it's not that late. But what do you got? Do you guys think I should do it at that time? I think so. I'll probably do it at 8. So then I can have it, I can do it at 8 p.m. because the people who I would, okay. So I'm literally streaming on Twitter right now. I'm streaming on Twitter, Rockfin, and Rumble, as well as YouTube. But yeah, I can do that. So okay, so I'll just do a live. I'll do a live reading so that you guys can catch that. This will be my first reading in my new place anyway, so it's all good. I like to break it in that way, so I would like to do that. Also, going to be trying to get together with the RBN Orlando chapter to work on doing our next action now that I'm moved in. So we're going to be getting into that. So stay tuned for that so that you guys in the Orlando area, when we actually do the action on the ground, if you guys want to come and help us out with the action that we're doing, you guys can join in with us as well. So stay tuned onto this channel as well. So I'll try to make sure to give you guys that announcement 2 weeks before so you guys can make the plans as well. So we'll try to do that as well. All right, so I got to get going because I'm hungry. All right, everybody. So I just want to thank all of you guys for tuning in. This was a great conversation. Also, oh, by the way, next Saturday, even though it is my birthday, I will be doing a stream. So at 6 p.m. Eastern, I do have a guest next Saturday too. Oh no, wait. Oh no, I haven't gotten a guest next Saturday. I'm doing a stream anyway, but if I have a guest, I'll let you guys know. But I'll be doing news stories next Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern. So just so that you guys know, because I want you guys to be able to celebrate with me. So yeah. What am I going to share? Am I going to share let me see. Trying to see if there's anything I can close out with. I haven't really planned it. I should have planned it, but I wasn't planning it. But either way, yeah, I'm gonna leave it as is. Anyway, so thank you guys so much for tuning in. Look, like I always say, water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better than you found it. Smoke them, you got them, drink them, you got them. If you ain't got them, then watch something funny, because joy is revolutionary. Yes, I know what I'm going to play at the end. And I may talk about this tomorrow, but I think it's necessary. But yes, joy is revolutionary. And so I want you guys to do what you can to just, I want you guys to do what you can to maintain your joy despite whatever you're going through. Also, make sure if you're not registered to vote, register to vote, just to do that ballot initiative, even if you don't vote for anything else. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow on RBN. Whew. It's been a long day. All right, so I found a video that I'm actually going to end with, and I think you guys will enjoy it. So, forehead kisses to every single one of you. I will see y'all in the next one. You have a great night. Deuces, Bruces. Bye-bye.
Nobody else will. You all know that even while the world is burning, even while all these horrible things are happening, you still have to participate and play and fun. Like, there's no healing without fun. There's no liberation without fun. There never has been. It sounds so frivolous, but it's so much deeper than you would think. Like, it is essential for survival. Also, we live in a society that demonizes play because we live under capitalism. And now we call anything that adults do that might in some way feel childish cringe. Play and fun has been essential for your development all throughout your life. I'm not trying to be a fun police, but y'all are going to make me go crazy if you do not understand that your activism has to include fun. That is how you build community. That is how you exist in the world. And that's the only way that you're sustainably able to be a part of a movement. My ancestors depended on play in order to survive. And some of the things that were done as leisure activities, it helped them liberate themselves. Like, it helped them get out of slavery. I saw a girl a couple weeks ago talk about how, like, people going out and like getting drinks or like going to dance, people act like, oh, you're like in your late 20s, you're in your late 30s, you shouldn't be partying. And she was talking about how like that is part of like community building. Like, anything that brings us together, we suddenly are demonizing it as if it's like immature to be doing it. Even Disney adults, while we're at home making fun of Disney adults because they're so cringe, they actually have community. Like, they get out of their house and they like make friends because they have something to be a part of. They participate and play as adults. Every group of people that has been oppressed, enslaved, whatever, they have found ways to have fun while their oppressor is oppressing them. You are entitled to fun as a human. It's a requirement for your flourishing.
Thank you so very much for watching my channel, and I deeply appreciate it from the top and bottom of my heart. If you wish to support the channel further, so I can keep bringing you content that is educational and informative, you can become a patron on patreon.com/Jaybefaunt. You can find that link in the pinned comment or in the description below. No matter what you give, you'll be supporting independent media and education that helps make the world better. Thank you so much, and you can watch more of my content here. Mwah. Forehead kisses, and have a beautiful day.